What is going on, guys? Welcome to your 34th Intermediate Java lesson, and in this video what I'm going to be doing is teaching you guys how to start building a very simple web browser. So our web browser program is going to have, all the things that a usual web browser has. The address bar at the very top where you can type in your URL like, I don't know, http google.com, and then once you press enter, it's going to go ahead and display the contents of google.com. So again, this isn't going to be a really advanced web browser, nothing as cool as Google Chrome or Firefox, but it's going to use a lot of important concepts. For example, reading an HTML file and displaying the contents on the screen. So I already made a new class and I imported 4 different things. So just go ahead and copy all that right now. Now what this is going to do is it's going to inherit from the class JFrame, just so we can get all our good GUI stuff, make it look nice and pretty. Now remember that I said this GUI is basically going to consist of 2 main parts. The address bar at the top where the user can type something in, and the main window that, I don't know, all the web page crap gets displayed. So the address bar at the top is actually going to be a J text field. So private J text field, and I'll just name this address bar. Now the main display window is actually going to be a J editor pane. So private editor pane, and I'll just name this display. So remember, we're going to be typing in the URL, such as thenewboston.com right here, and it's going to display in the main window. So the first thing that we should do is some housekeeping stuff, and it's actually more than housekeeping stuff. The constructor. So go ahead and make your constructor public, whatever the name of your class was. Read file. It's not going to take any extra information. Now the first thing we should do is give our application a title. So go there, call the superclasses constructor, and pass in whatever you want to name your browser. Bucky browser. I think that's a pretty cool name for a browser. So this title is going to appear at the very top of your screen, or the top of your application rather. So now that we have the title taken care of, we can begin working on the address bar, the part where the user types in the URL, which website do they want to go to. So the first thing we have to do is, of course, create it. So address bar equals new J text field. Now, whenever you create a new text field, go ahead and, as the parameter for this, type in some default text, such as enter a URL host, and I'm going to do that. So basically, the default text whenever the user first opens this application is enter a URL host. Now obviously they're going to have to enter a proper URL if they want this application to work, but for now we'll just give them a little prompt on the screen. So even though they have to delete it, it's probably better for the user to do it this way. So now what I want to do is, in this address bar, the way that they're gonna, pretty much submit their URL that says, okay, this is my URL, now I want to go to it, is they're gonna hit enter when they're done typing the URL. So since they're pretty much hitting enter, and that enter from the user is actually an event, we need to add an action listener to wait and listen for the user to press enter. So how do we wait and listen? Well, we need address, holy caps lock, address bar, add action listener, just like that. So now let me go ahead and get my spacing all taken care of. Alright, add action listener. Now inside this we need an anonymous inner class, new action listener. Now the method that gets called whenever the user presses enter is action performed. So public void action performed. Hopefully I spelled that right. Alright, looks pretty good. Action listener. Alright, so I don't know, I'm getting a bunch of weird error messages, but I think it's just because I didn't finish coding this method yet. So basically what we need to do is pass in an action event, and we'll name this event, and that event is basically the hitting of the enter button. So again, like I said, whenever they hit enter on their keyboard, this method is going to be called, so therefore we probably should put some instruction in here. So what do we want to happen whenever they hit enter on their keyboard? Well, they're only going to hit enter after they entered a URL. So basically what this program is going to do is it's going to get the URL and say, okay, then I want to go to this web page, read the file, the HTML file, and display it in the main window. So that's kind of a whole separate thing. So what I decided to do is I decided to make a separate method for that called load crap. Now the load crap method obviously isn't one that's already built into Java. We're going to have to make this ourselves. But what this method is going to do is it's going to go read an HTML file, for example the HTML file from thenewboston.org, and read it and then display it on the screen. So again, we're going to be coding that in the upcoming tutorials. But before we do that, what we need to do is we actually need to pass it in the URL as a string. So they already typed in the URL in this address bar. So how do we get the URL from that address bar? Well, let me just go ahead and type it, then I'll show you guys. Get, because this method is one of the ones that are not named very good in Java. So get action command, if I hover over it, maybe you'll see, okay, it says return the command string associated with this action. And I put my semicolon in the wrong place. So what this means is, remember, whenever you hit enter, an event is generated, and this get action command, which is not properly named, is basically going to take the string that's inside the address bar, and it's going to go ahead and pass it into this load crap method. So this get action command should more properly be named get string from JText field, but that's basically what it does. Whatever URL that you typed in is going to treat it as a string and pass it into this load crap method, which eventually what we're going to be doing is building this method to pretty much go to a file and display it on the screen. So simple enough. So well, that's pretty much it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, what we're going to be doing is working on the display, and then we're going to be working on the load crap method. So once everything ties together, you guys are going to be able to see what's going on. But for now, just stick with me, and I'll promise you guys, like I usually do, everything will make sense soon. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.